Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Pennsylvania County Planning Commission meeting for June 6th. Roll call, please.
Mr. Webb?
Here.
Mr. Waters?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Meese? Here. Mr. Dalton?
Here.
Mr. Oakes? Ms. Henderson?
Here.
Mr. Harker?
Here. If you would, please rise for a moment of silence, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hearing of the citizens. Mrs. Ragsdale, do we have anybody to speak to this?
I believe you have the book, but I do
Yep.
not believe anyone signed up for that.
Nope, good. Approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that it be approved.
Motion by Mrs. Meese, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Henderson. All those in favor, please cast a vote. Motion to approve the agenda passes 6 yes, 0 no. Approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion we approve the minutes.
Motion by Mr. Webb to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Mrs. Meese. Please cast your vote. Motion to pass the minutes passes 6 yes, 0 no. Chairman's report, I don't have anything to report tonight in addition to our meeting. We'll get right down to the public hearing. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to Article 5, Division 7 of the Pennsylvania County Zoning Ordinance, we, the Planning Commission, have been empowered to hear and decide specific applications in support of said ordinance and to make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors or the Board of Zoning and Appeals. In accomplishing this important task, we are charged with promoting the health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of Pennsylvania County. We must ensure that all of our decisions and recommendations be directed to these goals and that each be consistent with the environment, the comprehensive plan, and the best interest of Pennsylvania County, its citizens, and its posterity. Anyone here to speak to the board regarding zoning cases will be limited to 3 minutes. At 7:04, case CA-23-001 is now open for public hearing. Mrs. Ragsdale.
Case CA-23-001, Southside Investing LLC has proposed revisions to the following Pennsylvania County Code sections. Section 35-295, Special Use Permits. Section 35-296, Area Regulations, Items A, Minimum Lot Size, and B, Maximum Density. Section 35-298, Minimum Yard Dimensions, Items A, Front Setback, B, Side Setback, C, Rear Setback, D, Minimum Distance between main buildings, and E, Corner Lots. Section 35-301, open space requirements, and Section 35-305, streets, items F, alleys, and G, private streets. There is a red line version included in your packet that shows all of the proposed or recommended changes to the ordinance in all of those sections. Southside Investments is here to answer any questions, and I can answer any questions that you all may have as well.
Okay. I don't have anyone signed up to speak to this particular case, CA-23-001, the zoning changes, excuse me, the code amendment. Is there anyone that's not signed up that wanted to speak to the code amendment? This is for the code amendment, not the rezoning. Okay, come forward. Please state your name and the district you're from.
My name is Michael Kendrick. I'm in the Tunstall District. I am against rezoning these restrictions, the size of the lots and so forth. I think it's too high a density for the area that it's going in. I'm all for, I'm not against development. I'm not against, new housing developments, but this is too much, too compact, and I don't think we should, county citizens have had to live with the restrictions as they are now, as far as lot sizes and all this, and I don't think we should change that. I think we should keep it as it is. I'm just against this big of a development, this many people compacted into one place. I don't think we have, I don't think there's, as big as our county is, I just don't think we need these type of developments. Like I say, I'm not against developments, but I'm against packing them in like sardines in a can.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, sir. Anybody else to speak to the code amendment? Yes, sir. Come forward, state your name and your district, please.
My name is David Willis, and my mother owns Ashton Lodge on Martin Drive. And I and a lot of other people in this area were not have made aware of this until lately. I heard they were going to do a development, but nothing like this. And until yesterday, I was not aware of seeing the pictures of what they were planning on doing. And a lot of people in this area, like I say, have not until like a few days ago. And some people will tell you that. And I did a little number crunching today before I could see from what I saw. I couldn't tell if it was like 98 or 95 acres, so I'm going with 90 some, okay? They had said they're going to put 250 units on 90 some acres. And then they're going to put 382 lots on 90 some acres, because I couldn't read exactly 90 some, right? So they're going to put 336 lots on 141 acres. And all this adds up to like 3 lots on an acre. And then another 336 units on 115 acres. And that's not including the 150 room motel or the 90 villas or the 125 townhouses. Like he said, they're going to be cram-packing them all on this property these people just accumulated. And they're doing it because they want money. They're cram-packing people like, I've never in my life thought you would, it used to be you couldn't put over one place or two on 1 acre. You had to get a special permit to get 2 places like for a mobile home. But now they're putting this down there like that, and they have no water. There is no water out there. It's like a gallon to a minute of water out there, so they have to get it from the city. And I don't know what they would do with all the waste of all those people down there. They like the gentleman said before that is cram-packing on sardines, like people in sardines in the middle of a great big county. You're taking all these people and putting them in a little bitty spot right there in the middle of the county. For what? This is a whole big county for all kinds of houses, and they want to pack them all right there so they can make money. Create their own little town right there for money. It's all for money. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Mr. Willis. Anybody else for the code amendment? All right. Then at 7:10, public hearing is closed. Is there any discussion on this board for that?
Mr. Chairman, is anyone here from our Public Works that can address the water and sewage?
Yes, sir. Chris Adcock, the Director of Public Works, is here.
Yes, sir.
I was just wondering if you could expand on this size of project as far as the sewage needed, the water needed, so forth.
We do have public water along 58 all the way from the city of Danville to the Henry County line. We have allocations from Henry County. We have allocations from the city of Danville that equate to about 600,000 gallons per day. I don't know what the demands are for this particular, total demands for this particular development are, but we use about 90,000 gallons per day for 500 connections currently in the Broswell 58 West area. The sewer is a little further away. We have sewer infrastructure on Whispering Pines Road, and that leads to the city of Danville. So it'll have to be some additional studies done to see what the capacity available in that line is.
But in your opinion, do you think that we could handle this particular project?
Water-wise, I do think we could handle it. Sewer-wise, I need to see some additional numbers and some additional studies, which we would expect that to be provided by the developer at some point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Anybody else? As it pertains just to the amending of the code, does the minimum distance between buildings or the setbacks from a public works perspective, does that present any challenges from that perspective?
Not that I can think of, no, sir.
Okay.
Without having to put, if in this situation, without having to have a drain field or a well on a lot, it kind of, makes your size allocation smaller. Lots of times the size of your lots are dictated by your drain field and your well and the proximity of those to each other. So without having to worry about that, then I think it's not really an issue with public works or water and sewer.
So changing a rear setback from 30 feet, which is our current minimum, to a 20, which is the proposed minimum.
From a public works standpoint, I don't see an issue, no, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just point out that is only interior property lines, so exterior property lines around the project to all adjacent properties outside of the project would remain what it currently is now. This would only apply to any interior lines within the project, these
Okay.
changes that are being proposed.
All right.
And that is explained in the red line version that you have in front of you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ragsdale. Any other members of this board have any questions or discussion? If not, the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, in Mr. Oak's absence, he asked if I would make a motion for him.
Okay.
So concerning the KCA 23001, I put forth a motion to approve each of the code changes or amendments to the Pennsylvania County Code as described in the KCA 23001.
Is that the red line version?
The red line version,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Motion by Mr. Waters, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Henderson. Please cast your votes. Motion carries 6 yes, 0 no. At 7:15, case R-23-015 is now open for public hearing. Mrs. Ragsdale.
Case R-23-015, Wayne and Sandra Troxler have petitioned to rezone 1.61 acres located on Locust Lane in the Callens-Gretna election district from RC1 Residential Combined Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow for a second dwelling to be constructed on the property. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35-178 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Wayne Troxler is here to represent the petition. I would also like to call attention to a set of proffers that have been offered by Mr. Troxler. Those proffers are, there's a copy in front of you.
Okay. Mr. Troxler, would you please go? Yeah, thank you.
I'm Wayne Troxler at 221 Locust Lane, Pinhook, Virginia. I've got 1 acre and 6/10 there. I've got a house down on the lake. I just want to build a smaller house up on the top of the hill for my wife and I. We've got 5 grandkids and our house is getting a little bit crowded. So that's my plan, is just to build a smaller house up on top of the hill.
Okay.
I'm glad to answer any questions.
You've offered these proffers of conditions. I'm just going to read them for the record, and so
Okay.
everybody will know. We, being Wayne and Sandra Troxler, hereby voluntarily proffer to the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors the following for the above referenced property. Number 1, we forfeit all uses allowed in the A1 Agricultural District that are not allowed by right in the RC1 Residential Combined Subdivision District as shown in Pennsylvania County Code 35-267. Second proffer being the second dwelling will not be a manufactured housing, i.e. single wide or double wide.
That's correct.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Troxler? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I don't have anyone signed up to speak for or against this particular petition. Is there anyone here that would like to speak? Then at 7:18, public hearing is closed in this case.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mrs.
I
Meeks.
had 3 phone calls that were of concern because of the agriculture. That was their biggest concern, and I really feel like that Mr. Troxler is trying his best to be a good neighbor in that area and has come forward and offered this proffer. And as you just said, it should be self-explanatory. And he's not putting a single wide or double wide, and it's going to be a stick house, so it should sort of help the area in looks. So therefore, I think he's trying to work with the property owners there. And so in case R-23-015, I make a motion that we recommend to the Board of Supervisors that this case be approved as requested, providing with the proffer.
Motion by Mrs. Meeks. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Webb. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6 yes, 0 opposed. At 7:19, in case R-23-016 is now open for public hearing. Mrs. Ragsdale.
Case R-23-016, Southside Investing LLC has petitioned to rezone 13 parcels totaling 614.45 acres located on State Road 855 Martin Drive, State Road 58 Martinsville Highway, State Road 851 Peach Orchard Road, and Sugar Tree Lane in the Tunstall Election District from A1 Agricultural District to RPD Residential Plan Unit Development District to allow for a mixed-use development to include commercial and residential uses. Once the property is rezoned to RPD, all uses listed under Section 35-294 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, a representative from Southside LLC will be here to represent the petition.
When you come to the podium, please state your name and speak so we can hear you.
My name is Tom Gallagher. I'm a partner and spokesperson for Southside Investing LLC. Thank the Commission for its time tonight and for all those in attendance. We've come before the Commission with respect to our proposal to rezone the 614.45 acres to the RPD, which is a planned unit development. The genesis of our application came about as a result of acquisition of a property that had been on the market for about 30 years, assembling some additional property and looking at the housing needs, the present housing needs, and then also taking into account the future housing needs that would emanate from future employers at the mega site. Planned unit developments provide a number of benefits, and while they are compact dense, they provide the ability to give new homeowners and existing homeowners possibly a wide variety of housing types. So it provides for multifamily rental, townhouses for first home high buyers. We've conceptually laid out 20-foot townhouses and 24-foot townhouses. We also have included a variety of single-family detached home types. Additionally, with the planned unit development, this is a mixed-use concept, so this would contemplate in the future, subject to further approvals, the inclusion of a commercial center. We've got a hotel on the site, a independent living campus, and a senior living facility. The other benefit of a planned unit development is that as the county grows, and while this is a large-scale project on 614 acres, it helps the county as it grows to concentrate housing and actually at the end of the day preserve more rural and agricultural area. So by way of example, if the mega site was to generate 10,000 new employees, if you did that on 3-acre lots, you'd be about 30,000 acres that it would eat up versus the just under 2,000 homes that would be on 614 acres. So there's an inherent benefit of planned unit developments that accomplish that goal, and we think it makes a lot of sense. Someone mentioned in terms of the overall density, we are at about 3.5 dwelling units per acre overall, which is, while on one hand that may seem high, it actually is not a very high density. Additionally, we're reflecting about 40% open space with the existing plan. And finally, from a timing standpoint, we are contemplating this would be about a 10-year build-out. So a lot of folks, it's a large-scale project, but at the end of the day, it's not like there's going to be 1,900 homes that get plopped down within the first 1 or 2 years. It will take us probably 18 months of going through the process with the county, with DEQ, with the Corps engineers, with VDOT, before we're in a position to start moving earth. And then from that point onward, the first goal is to provide housing, and it would build out. It would probably ramp up slowly. We'd hit some absorptions, but about 10 years in terms of projection that this would build out over. I think those are the high-level points I wanted to hit, and certainly available for any questions now or after there's public comment.
All right, thank you. Any questions from Mr. Gallagher while we have him? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I got a question, Mr. Chairman.
sorry.
Has your group had projects like this in the past that you've done and completed?
Well, I have. So the partnership Southside Investing consists of a number of people, including Todd Curtis and Dale Harris, who grew up in this area, went to Tunstall and Dan River, respectively, and another one of our partners, Tony Sala. Between Tony and I, we have about 54 years of experience. I've been doing real estate development for about 28 years, and I've worked on various communities in Virginia, Maryland, Delaware. The closest one I've done to Pittsylvania County was actually in Charlottesville, If you're familiar with the intersection of 29 and Hydraulic Road, in the northwest corner, there's a project called Stonefield, which is a mixed-use, more intense, originally approved for about 1.6 million square feet. The ultimate yield there will be less than that, but it consisted of some Main Street retail. There was some structured parking with a Regal Cinema. There's multifamily there. There's a hotel there. So that's the closest one to this area I've done. The ones that I've done in Virginia and Delaware have been of similar sizes. Some have been smaller. Some have just been residential. Others have incorporated the mix of uses, which allows for the benefit of providing services, keep people off the roads.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gallagher.
Thank you.
Quite a few of you have signed up to speak to this case, and I want to give you as much opportunity to do so as possible. But please keep in mind, as I call your name, come up, tell us your name and your district, and then if you would, please limit your time to 3 minutes. Joshua Jennings. Good evening.
Thank you all for having a meeting so that we can have a discussion. My name is Joshua Jennings. I'm a resident of the Chatham Blair's district, but I'm also a landowner in the Tunstall district, close by where the planned expansion is going to be. The developers seem to have done a great deal of research and willing to work with the county. I think that they're trying to meet the needs of the overall, and I think we can balance the need to preserve what we have here in Pittsylvania County, but also grow. We definitely need people to move in to retain our youth in order to keep things economically viable in this area. Most local businesses attest to the struggles related to this loss of opportunity that we're seeing. Our children's futures depend on growth opportunities such as this planned development to go forward. The current density and population has been dropping over the last couple of decades. This has been easily verified from the census data and what have you. The population, because it's been decreasing, it's a combination of both of our youth moving out and those that are here just simply passing away. So we are looking to augment our growth, and I think Southside is able to do that in a positive manner. This development meets both the current needs to address housing shortage and will assist in improving our chances to attract new job opportunities to the region. These sorts of new developments will be essential in reversing Pennsylvania County's population losses, corresponding income losses, and maintaining a low tax rate that prevents lower populations from having to shoulder a proportionally higher tax burden. The proposed development potentially could be thousands of new residents who can contribute to the county coffers, but also new consumers, business owners, technicians, and professionals who will be an asset to our region. This is not just about tax dollars. This is about our children, our children's children, as well as strengthening our community's economic viability. With this development, we have the potential to offset an entire decade of population loss with just this one development over the next decade. To put that into hard numbers, a 10,000 loss in population would roughly equate to a $300 million loss in incomes if each person made an average of about $30,000. This estimate would be based on a low average income, and that is a substantial figure for our community. Such a return of population would in turn lead to better business opportunities, better sales for existing businesses, more consumer choices, and more interest in investing in our community. I've already had to augment my business strategy for guns, gear, and ammo by adding gun shows in the Northern Virginia and Tidewater areas. That went from growth and range expansion to simple survival because of the economic downturn locally. If we do not act, the current trend of population decline will continue to further slow growth, hurt our business prospects, and ensure our children will not remain in our county in the future. If Pennsylvania County can attract new residents in this way that the plan is presented, there can be a balance between maintaining growth while preserving our children's futures and maintaining our cultural values and beauty that this community has always had. I urge you to support this rezoning and as a resident and a landowner in the vicinity. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Ryan Gusler, is that right? Please state your name correctly. Sorry.
My name is Ryan Gusler. I actually live on a property that is touching this right here. In fact, this is me right here.
Okay.
And talking about preserving agriculture, I actually own a farm that touches that right there, and that's going to be a big nuisance in my backyard. Now, I think growth is great, don't get me wrong, but I would like to have some type of barrier between that I don't feel like I should be justifiable in paying for, as far as fencing, trees, noise barriers, anything like that. This particular road right here, Sugar Tree Lane, gravel road, that right there, all that traffic coming down 58 right there from Danville coming down, you're talking about all of that traffic coming up that way. And for anybody who's ever pulled out of that road right there, if you look left, you cannot see down that hill whatsoever. It is a blind spot. So you're talking about spinning tires coming out of that neighborhood. So with all that traffic coming up now, we're going to be spinning coming out. There is no caution light there. There's no trip lights there. There's nothing there. There's gravel that meets the Highway 58 right there. This creek right here, this Sugar Tree Creek right here, I'm the only property right here, that right there, my driveway passes over top of that right there. So my concern here is and I know they're going to work with the Army Corps engineers, but my concern is that I've actually called them before when this right here this creek right here has actually overflowed, and it is swelled 300 foot wide and took out 300 foot of my 1,200 foot driveway. So when I called the Army Corps engineer, what they actually did is say, well, it's not my problem. So I'm just curious if these are the same people that they plan on dealing with when they say it's not my problem. So you're talking about all of this rainwater right here and all of this pavement right here. Where is that water going to go? Is it going to drain off right here and create problems right here? Like I said, most of my main concern is infrastructure. Just making sure that it's done properly. And that's really all I have.
Thank you, sir. Kim Greer.
If y'all hear anything knocking, it's just my knees. I wrote mine in a letter form because I tend to ramble.
Ms. Greer, if you could lower that microphone just a little bit. There we go. Thank you.
I've never had anybody tell me they couldn't hear me before. Anyway, I live beside of the tower on Martin Drive. A few months ago, in March, we received a certified letter from the man that owned the property beside of us and behind us, Mr. Bruce Lawrence, that is a co-applicant with Southside. He owns the land, like I said, beside and behind us, and the letter stated that he wanted to move back to our area and build a house on his property and start a farming business. Well, that goes right along with what we have in our area, so no problem there. And he wanted to speak with us about about plans for our property. And so we were waiting any day to hear the bulldozers of him building his house. Well, imagine our surprise when we got the letter from the county about the application for rezoning, and we had a lot of questions. But nothing could have prepared us for the map with 1,989 residential units and all that it comes with. Our property will be hemmed in by 2 new roads on each side and townhouses at my back door. Martin Drive would need extensive work done to it, but it would be widening, it would be taking up people's property. I've heard that it can be up to 15 or 20 feet on each side of the road, and that's taking up people's personal property. It's already a dangerous road anyway. Several people have tried to have something done about the speed limit. It's been years in the making and nothing's been ever done. It's 55. My driveway is one of the ones that's in a blind spot. And one thing that makes us nervous is knowing that this is Southside Investors' first project, because I know this from going to the other meetings, that they were just formed, the four of them, back in September. That's what I understood from the meeting that I was at. We're not against the housing development. I know they are screaming we need housing in the county, but, a regular development is fine, but I think this is a little excessive, and I know that's just my opinion, but a lot of people feel the same way I do. They might not be here tonight, but they feel the same way. I am, however, thankful that I did receive a letter, because I have neighbors that did not. I hope they don't mind me saying their name, but the Valderramas did not get a letter, did not get a certified letter, and they just saw the map yesterday. The new road goes by their house, along with townhouses beside their driveway and behind them. Imagine their shock just finding this out yesterday. A project of this magnitude should have been talked about with the residents of Martin Drive and Peach Orchard.
Ms. Greer, your time's expired. If you could very quickly, and I'll give you 10 seconds to wrap up. Yeah.
I went on my own time yesterday and went by all the way up to Riley Farm Road, and I stopped at several people's houses. 95% of them didn't even know about this. They didn't even know. They had no idea. And I think that they should have talked to the community first. Thank you.
Thank you. David Willis.
They spoke good about it. You got 4 minutes. I get 4 minutes? Okay. Anyway, I didn't find out about it until yesterday myself. It was the first time I saw it. It shocked me too. Shocked me to death too. What really shocks me is they plan all this, and there's no interest for all this development right here. Except right beside that woman's house is just spoke. You know, and my mother, I say she lives over on Ashton Drive, on Martin Drive, Ashton House. And when they built all this, they had no road going through here to get to all these houses. They were planning on putting out these two roads right here, developing Martin Drive and making it wide. Just to get all these people out here, because there's no way for them to go out right here. It was my knowledge and my understanding when I read about getting an easement on somebody's property, that you had to show that you had no way of getting out or to that property. You had to prove that you had no way to get to that property and get an easement. Oh, I'm going to cross somebody's property with a road or a driveway. But right here, they have a whole mile all the way down 58 or more to come into this property. All the way over there. They have a whole mile of road frontage property right here. They can make an entrance down here on the bottom where it starts, and an entrance up here at the top. Instead, they got a whole little city built right here on 58 to make money on it with no entrance. They're going to block it all out. Force everybody to come out on Martin Drive. Then they'll widen Martin Drive, and then my mother, all the big pine trees she has up there blocking her barns from being on Martin Drive. It gives a shade to the whole barn to her venue, shades the whole venue. All those trees will be cut down. Miss Grant is giving, going down the rest of the meeting, is giving grants to everybody in this community. Her family planted those trees. And her family put that aluminum chain link fence all the way up that road up there. When they come out of here, they get all this developed, they want to tear all of Miss Grant's stuff down. You know, that she works so hard for, and gives so much money to this community for. They want to tear her stuff down, ruin my mom's business, but she'll have no shade or anything on her business over there and on her venue. But it's in its shade because her pine trees, Aspenage and pines, they would cut them pine trees down. No more pine trees on the side of the road. Well, Aspenage, pine trees gone. It was called Aspenage after that. That's what their plans are. And I'll fight it tooth and nail until I see an entrance and an exit on 58 on this mile of highway they have that they can build an entrance and exit on. You know, they want to tear other people's property down so they don't have to, so they will miss $1 on their little property over here. So if they would make a road, it really wouldn't cost so much to make a road out here. They got houses going all the way to the edge of other people's properties. They would make a road coming all the way around this thing like a bypass. They got 2,000 people stuck on 5 acres, 500 acres of property. properties. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm getting at. That's my point of the whole situation. Is that I owe my mom.
Thank you, Mr. Willis. Your time's expired. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I'll see y'all next week.
Heather Wallington.
Okay. Hello, my name is Heather Watlington, and my mother owns property on Martin Drive, and she has a business there. While I am very, very concerned about her and these people being in her backyard, she moved there to retire and to have a life there. She's going to have condos in her backyard. I'm also worried about my business. This business supports my family. It pays my bills. It pays her bills. I'm worried about tax values possibly going up and, our taxes going up because of this and losing business. I don't feel like once they hit the later phases of this that they are going to have to widen our road in order, to do something. We have one entrance, one driveway on our property, and that's our exit and it's our entrance for all these people. So if I have somebody coming to a wedding with 150 cars, I've got to get 150 cars in and out of there on the road with other thousands of cars going up down the road. I have outdoor weddings in our yard. So what is this construction going to do to the outdoor weddings? What is it going to do to all the land back behind there is rock. So I'm assuming they're going to have to blow through some of this rock to get to there. What's it going to do to my business? This is going to affect my family's income, my mother, her house, and her income. And I'm just very concerned about it. I was a little excited about the hotels going in to start with when they first mentioned that, because I thought, we have a lot of people that come in from out of town for weddings, so they wouldn't have to drive to Danville, they wouldn't have to drive to Martinsville. There's a grocery store right up the road, but I didn't take into consideration the full picture. So I'm worried about my income. I'm worried about my business. I don't know if I'm the only business that's attached to this or not, but, this is how I pay my bills. So I'm upset. That's all I got.
Thank you, ma'am. Pamela Henry Mays.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Pamela Henry Mays. I'm in Tunstall District. I'm neither opposed nor in favor, more just neutral, waiting to see what's going to happen. But I do agree with a lot of those who have expressed concerns over the effect that this is going to have on our infrastructure. I live on Peachtree. Peachtree is narrow. It is dangerous to drive on a lot of times because a lot of people fly on it. I can just imagine when we have the estimated 10,000 new people trying to find new ways, shortcuts to get home, and Peachtree becomes it. So I worry about that. I also worry about things that they've discussed already, like sewer, but we also have an issue with light pollution. A lot of people forget about light pollution. There's not going to be any more stars out our way because we're going to have street lights, signs, so forth. And I'd like to know what they intend to do to minimize that, because that is an issue. I also am interested in what the exit strategy is if this fails. Are we going to be left with a ghost town? Half-built buildings that are just going to fall down and rot if this doesn't work out the way they plan? So I'm interested in finding out what that is going to be. And also, I want to express some concern about blasting. I came from Cincinnati. I lived close to the airport. When they put the new runway in, even though it was over a mile away from my house, it busted my foundation. I'm not a mile away from this development. I am much closer. Is my foundation going to be busted? What are they going to do to fix that, if it is? Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Kendrick.
Good evening, Michael Kendrick, Tunstall District. Live right out in this community in the county. We moved out. We've lived here 45 years. We lived here for a reason. We like the rural county setting. This is a big city development going to be plopped down right in a rural setting. A big city development. Now, who in here would want that in their backyard? Very few people, especially if you've moved to the country. And it took me, I've worked hard to acquire what I have. And I'm, like the lady said, I don't want to see my property taxes go up. They will go up if this development goes in. There's a lot of things I don't think's been considered. As one man mentioned about stormwater runoff. A big development like this, you're going to have a lot of stormwater runoff. What's the cost to the county? You know, you're going to get tax revenues out of this, but what's it going to cost the county? It's going to cost a lot of money to pump sewer all the way from Martin Drive to the city of Damon. You got to have pump stations. There's no way gravity's going to take it all the way to the city of Damon. Plus, how much of this development is going to use up the Public Works Director, 600,000 gallon available to this area? Well, we don't want it all used up in one development. And is this going to set a precedent for other huge developments all around the county? Are we opening the door? You know, we open the door to solar panels, and they proliferated. Are these developments going to proliferate all over the county once we open this door? A lot was said about the mega park. You know, we need this for the mega park. Nothing's happened at the mega park in 10 years. $200 million has been spent there. You know, if I could see something happening there, then I could say, yeah, you know, let's start considering a big development maybe. I think it's too much in one place. It's going to destroy our neighborhood. The roads, if you talk to anybody with VDOT, from Martin Drive to West Fork Road, that's the worst section of 58 on the east side for wrecks. Talk to anybody with VDOT. Fire department. We don't have a fire department that could support a development like that. What about law enforcement? Do we have law enforcement capacity to support a development like that? I don't think so. You know, there's a lot of ifs. You know, if this development's built, we'll have better roads. If this development's built, maybe they'll put a stoplight on 58. There's a lot of ifs that go along with it, and we don't know.
10
we don't
seconds.
know if this development's
10 seconds, Mike.
Pardon me?
10 more seconds.
Okay, we don't know if this development's going to take off like they say it is. You know, it might take off some, and then that's it. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Jane Kendrick.
Jane Kendrick, Tunstall District.
Good evening.
Thank you. I heard a lot of people, we were at a meeting the other night, I heard the developers just wax poetical about how wonderful this will be for the county. Oh, the tax revenue, we will have money galore. It will just be running out of our pockets. I'm planning a huge vacation when this all comes to pass. The reality is, Berry Hill is what they're banking on. They said it repeatedly. When Berry Hill hits. Berry Hill has not hit. A development, as my husband said, that's modest would be fine. Make it similar to a gated community where you have entrance and exits along 58 only. People along Martin Drive and Peach Orchard should not have to pay a price in their way of life and degrade their property so someone else can come in and develop this land. People have said, one gentleman said he owns property, but he lives in Chatham District. Go to your Chatham Blair's district supervisor and get them to build this somewhere in your neighborhood. There's a reason why we have worked. We own the old family home place. We bought it with our own hard work and money. We bought the adjacent land through 40+ years. We have a place for our children and grandchildren. They don't need to go to some development crammed in as my husband said, like sardines in a can. The board needs to understand, and some of the developers the other night, I said, have you driven down Peach Orchard? No. Have you been along Martin and Peach Orchard and the adjacent Whispering Pines and Sugar Tree Church Road that hits Mount Cross? Have you been there when the school buses are running, when the kids are running up to Tunstall High School? And Tunstall District parents are famous for everyone has to carry their kids to school. Stony Mill, Brosville, I've worked at Brosville. It's just a nightmare of traffic. The developers haven't even been on those roads. These meetings were scheduled haphazardly, in my opinion. We find out from a newspaper article that this is happening. The meetings are Memorial Day weekend. What happens then? Schools closed, graduations, holidays, people are gone. People in our community didn't even know this is happening. So there's a lack of communication somewhere. But I ask the board to consider what we are saying and to come out and see this area for yourself. Mr. Gallagher has presented a beautiful picture, but it's not going to be beautiful for those of us who are left living in that area. We feel strongly about it, and we're strongly opposed to that, and we hope that you will see what we are saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Josh Austin.
My name is Josh Austin. I live in the Tunstall District on Sugar Tree Church Road, and I don't know how I'm supposed to follow that. 3 years ago this month, my wife and I bought some property on Sugar Tree Church Road. We moved from Rockingham County, North Carolina, because we couldn't find anywhere to buy over there. We found a perfect piece of property. We thought, okay, this will be our retirement piece. I'm 43 years old. I got 7 more years before I can retire from the state of North Carolina. This is my home. And in the past 2 weeks, I found out that my 26 acres is now going to be encompassed with a housing development that, as the gentleman stated, has been built in Delaware, Northern Virginia, all populated areas that we see coming down from up north. I've seen these go up. My grandmother lived in Chantilly, Virginia. I watched as her home place got turned into one of these. It's not what I want here. I don't think anybody in the community, as stated, that actually lives there wants to see this here. I can't say anything that hasn't been said already other than no. And I think you'll get a resounding no from the actual residents from that community. If you hadn't been to the other 3 meetings, you should have been. Thank you.
Carlos Valderrama.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Carlos, and I'm here representing my family. My family lives in Tunstall District. We're concerned about this large of a project going into our community. This is going to heavily increase traffic throughout our roads around the community, and it could possibly increase crime in the future as well. What's going to happen if all these houses are not filled? Is it going to turn into low-income houses? One of the benefits in that area is that you have space and also peace. This big of a project would take away that from us. A project like this would be better for the city where all the necessary utilities are available. I really don't think there's a housing shortage because I'm in the city every day where I work, and there's a bunch of vacant houses, and a project like this would be better suited for the city. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Denise Valderrama.
Good evening. My name is Denise, Tunstall District. We do live on Martin Drive, 3967. I feel like I am completely opposed to this development because our driveway is basically right beside the entrance of part of this development. So this lot right here is where I live. This is our lot. This is the entrance of the development on North Drive. I do understand that this development will have other entrances on Martinsville Highway, which is 58, but the entrance beside our driveway, just, I'm not okay with that. Basically, I'm surrounded by houses, backyard and beside our house, so I'm just opposed to it. I'm not okay with not even a small development, so. Privacy, more noise, freedom, pollution. I mean, I think everybody previously that has spoke before me has said it all, especially my neighbor, Kim. So I think that's all I have to say. I'm just completely opposed. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Elena? Sorry, I'm not going to try your last name. I'll let you give it.
Good evening. My name is Elena Kiskan. I am in the Tunstall District. We just moved there. It's been 2 years. I moved from Rockingham County, and we moved here because I had a child, and I am a 7th generation farmer. My child is now an 8th generation farmer. I have cows, horses, goats. And I moved to this area because it is an agricultural area, and that is what I want to be able to instill in my child. So somebody who does not live in this area talking about what's good for our children. Tunstall is known for having farm kids, and agriculture is super important to this country, and we need to be able to maintain that. And we have the foundation here for that, and it does make revenue. But I kind of have a lot of issues, so I'm just going to try to go quickly. I do understand the need for housing, and that Danville and this area, Southside, is growing, and it's wonderful. I came here for college in 2004, which was right when everything in Danville had crashed, and I've made this area my home. God has called me to be here. The growth is good. Simply put, the research that I've done into what Southside is trying to do in this development, this is for an urban area. Pittsylvania County is not urban. They want to go do it on Southside Virginia, or they're doing it because of Berry Hill. Go put it on Berry Hill. This area is not where this needs to happen. It's not okay for the rest of us who live here. Also, those jobs haven't been locked in. There's no current businesses. So what jobs are we trying to supply? As there's still a lot of vacant residencies on Southside Danville and in the city where they're doing these renovations and continuing to build things up. Why not continue to build that community up? Why not take structures that are in place? Why not take and use infrastructure that just needs updated instead of having to put money and create new when we can just revamp what's in existence? It also is disheartening and it's concerning about how quickly all of this is happening. I also was unaware until about 2 weeks ago. I had to have emergency gallbladder surgery, so I missed the first meeting, but I wanted to make sure that I was here tonight because this is important. Also, the idea of this community and what Southside is trying to do is these communities are supposed to reduce a carbon footprint. So how are you reducing a carbon footprint if they're still going to have to commute to Danville, to Martinsville, and to the Berry Hill location? So I hope, kind of a lot of things, I hope you guys take that into consideration. This is not what we need, or if so, it really needs to just be put on the back burner so we can have more time to understand what's going on. It's happened too fast.
Thank you. Stephanie Smith.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Smith. I'm actually the store manager of Ashley Furniture. So as you could imagine, a development could mean a lot more business for my business. But it's in my backyard. So we live, right here. This is our farm. So this is gonna butt up to two sides of our farm. We have about 20 acres there. Lots of buildings. It's right next to a beautiful barn that they do weddings at. We had plans to make our farm into like a bed and breakfast or something, actually turn it into something, which could still be done. But it's not necessary, of course, if there's 1,980 houses right across the street or the new streets, whatever it might be. Okay. So my biggest concerns that I have is one, traffic. Another one is police and fire services. We've had a shooting in the neighborhood right next door. We all knew that in the community that had happened. The police could not resolve that shooting. They have no idea who did it. Nothing ever came of it. Our police was not able to actually find out what happened. My son went missing 2 years ago. The police never showed up. Thankfully, we found him, okay? But the police are required to come even if the child is located. They never showed up. So if we're already stretched that thin in this community, how is putting in a development of 1,980 homes, including a 150-room hotel, going to be served properly? I am also a volunteer firefighter for the Axton Fire Department, and I know how few people show up already to calls. Brosville, we had a fire on Martin and took like a whole bunch of the acreage. We had to bring in 6 different departments to come in and fight the fire. There's just not enough people that are able to serve these departments properly to cover what we need. If we're going to grow this community, we need way more resources. And I know there's going to be $3 million in tax revenue that's going to come in, but how do we know in our community that that's actually going to be allocated to our community? Pittsylvania County is the largest county in Virginia. That's going to spread out. So that's a huge concern of mine. And I really believe that we need to have buffer zones. I mean, we should not have to, okay, personally, TMI, I walk out my porch in my bra. Let me be honest, I'm on a farm, y'all. I can't do that if I have condos and townhouses in my backyard. I mean, it's 20 acres, but it's only like 5 acres to the back of my horse field. It's going to affect us, and they're putting it right to the property line. That's what I'm saying. I just don't think there's any consideration for what we are actually going to have to be dealing with once this comes in. It's way too overpopulated for that. For the rest of the community. We don't need this many houses. It's not our responsibility to fix all of the housing deficit.
Your time's expired. Thank you.
Sorry about the bra conversation, y'all.
Keith or Kenneth Whitlock?
Good evening. Keith Whitlock, Tunstall District. My main concern is with the access to Martin Drive. We live on Martin Drive. My wife has been hit trying to pull in the driveway already. I've been hit trying to pull out of my driveway. We've totaled 2 cars. It's already a nuisance road. People fly up and down it. And so with the proposed entrances and exits that they have shown on the map, Martin Drive really is going to have some help from the county. I don't know if it's VDOT or what the plans could be, but somebody's going to get hurt if you allow that many cars to come out onto Martin Drive. Now the other issues that everybody's already talked about, the other issues, sewage, the water runoff, noise barriers, they're all good points, but my main thing is Martin Drive. We need to try to keep the community together on that road. You've got a lot of elderly that use that road, and to bring this housing development in, with those two exits on Martin. Let them stay on 58. Let them use access on 58. Just leave Martin alone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Brenda Gill? L.O. Hill? Or L.O. Gill? Okay. That's all I had sign up. Was there anybody else that wanted to speak that hadn't gotten the chance? All right, I have an email from Mr. Gary Oakes, our Tunstall District representative on this board. I just wanted to read that, and then I'll invite a representative for Southside Investment to come up and address any concerns that they heard that they would like to address. This is Mr. Gary Oakes. Since I'm unable to be at tomorrow's meeting, I'd like to share a few thoughts. Southside Investing, a housing development project. I would like to thank Tony Sala and Southside Investing for wanting to construct this development in Pittsylvania County. When the industries move into the Berry Hill Mega Park, we will need housing for those who want to live and work here. After talking to individuals, including real estate agents and builders, I believe the county is in desperate need of more housing. The county has the infrastructure to support this project with the exception of the sewage. The sewer line will need to be lengthened and updated with more pumps and capacity. The completed project will have an estimated base of $3 million annually, making it self-supporting. I would like to see all roads within the project be built to state codes. I strongly support this project and believe it is a great opportunity for Pittsylvania County. And that is from Mr. Oakes. Did a representative from Southside wish to make a rebuttal to any of the concerns raised?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. A couple items I'd like to hit response to the comments made. So one is we did conduct 3 community meetings at the Brosville Fire Station, at Shiloh Baptist, and at Faith Memorial. And they were fairly well attended. I think we had approximately 55 at the first one, 60 to 70 at the second, and 35 or so at the third. And we did hear a lot of the comments, some of which we've heard tonight, and understand them. With respect to traffic, I will tell you we've had a number of meetings with VDOT, and we do envision that the bulk of the traffic would be able to be handled by the entrances on 58. We have included the other access points because at the end of the day, there's a benefit to having ancillary access coming off. I clearly understand the concerns with respect to Martin Drive. We've been on Martin Drive, Peach Orchard, and other roads. At the end of the day, having it on here and have this plan approved does not mean it's going to happen. We've got to work through the process with VDOT, and right now, given it's an unposted road, the speed limit on there is 55 miles per hour. To put these in, we'd have to have about 610 feet sight lines going left and right at 55 miles per hour, which it doesn't, given the topography and the road width, that doesn't happen. We have no plans on widening Martin Drive, and at the end of the day, we're going to be beholden to VDOT whether those access points will actually come to fruition. In terms of the safety on Martin Drive, we've heard comments about lowering the speed limit, which I was surprised when I found out it was 55 miles per hour. So that would be one thing that we would be aligned on in terms of improving the safety there. Again, at the end of the day, VDOT's going to have the ultimate say. In terms of stormwater management, the general rule with respect to stormwater management is that the post-development flows coming off a property have to be equal to or less than the pre-development flows. At the end of the day, working with the county, DEQ, and the Corps of Engineers, I'm confident that the water quality, even at the pond on site, at the end of the day, the overall water quality on site and coming off site will be cleaner. It just is. The standards are very rigorous. So again, we won't be able to move forward until we receive all those permits. You heard from Mr. Adcock with respect to the sewer, and there are some pump stations in place now, and it's quite possible they would have to be upgraded. talked about the roads. In terms of services, understand with respect to the services that are out there now and moving forward, we'll be coordinating with the county and emergency services. There's also questions that came up with respect to schools. We've had feedback from, we met with Dr. Jones. There is about 25 to 30% of capacity available in the Tunstall district between the elementary schools that feed Tunstall Middle and the high school. And so at this point, and that includes it's a full build out. So based on the projections that we have, the school district right now, it doesn't address, there'll be further, conversations in terms of teachers or buses. So again, we'll be working closely with the school district. There was an additional comment with respect to agriculture. And as I've said before, and I understand all the comments, especially from the folks that live in close proximity, as I mentioned earlier, at the end of the day, this project and similar planned use development projects, and this isn't just me saying, this has been studied nationally, these kinds of communities actually enable jurisdictions to retain more agriculture. When I mentioned earlier 10,000, that was not 10,000 residents at the site, that was just an estimate. If 10,000 jobs were created, if you did that on 3-acre lots, how much land that would eat up versus doing a denser planned use development. And the last one was with respect to setbacks and proximity. Right now, based on the text amendment that was moved on and our plan, the 40 feet, there's not going to be any structure any closer to any perimeter property than the 40-foot setback that's in place under the A1 district. That's it. I'll take any additional questions. And I would also offer, to the extent there's additional questions with respect to stormwater management or the plan layout, I do have Dan Anderton from Dewberry, and Dewberry is part of our team who can speak to that if there's more specific questions on that front. I thank you.
Anybody have any questions for?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to address, I believe it was Stephanie Smith who was concerned about buffers. Could you elaborate a little bit on the buffers, what you're planning to do?
That's, as I just referenced, in terms of right now with the A1, so if you had where the residents on Sugar Tree, the current setback in terms of is 40 feet in the A1. So any house that would be built on adjacent A1 property would be 40 feet. Notwithstanding internally that we'll have reduced setbacks, in terms of the perimeter, that will not change.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher.
Thank you.
All righty. At 8:14, public hearing is closed. Is there any discussion on this board? If not, the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Oakes asked if I would take the lead on making the motion for this also.
Yes, sir.
On the rezoning case R23016, concerning the rezoning of 614.45 acres from A1 Agricultural District to RPD Residential Planned Unit Development District to allow a mixed-use development that will consist of single-family and multifamily residential and commercial uses as shown on the submitted concept plan. I make a motion that we, as a commission, approve the application.
Motion by Mr. Waters. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Webb. Please cast your votes. Motion carries 6 yes, 0 no. Okay. I appreciate everyone's time, as I hope they appreciate our time, and I appreciate the respect that was shown while everyone else was speaking. Thank you, sir. Old business.
I would just like to remind everyone that we will have the next bi-monthly meeting for the zoning ordinance update this Thursday at 5:30 in this room. So we did pass out the packet that showed the changes that we will be going over in that meeting. So that gives you some time to review that prior to the meeting. I just want to encourage everyone, if you can attend, please do attend these meetings because this is a very important project as we move forward.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Ragsdale. Any new business?
We also will have cases next month. I do have them in front of me. We have 6 cases next month. We have 4 rezoning and 2 special use permit applications. So you all have that information in front of you to give you a little heads up of what your caseload will look like next month.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have anything else? Then at 8:17, we are adjourned.